el Riot sacó avance de temporada o algo así. Y va a ser como una suerte de video reacción. Si es que creen que esto reacciona, no, no sé. Ah, no sé. La cosa es que no lo he visto porque vengo despertando. Ahí sí.
Hey everyone, I'm Riot Brightmoon, executive
Hola,
producer
Riot
of League of Legends, and I'm here on behalf of the entire League dev team to welcome you to season 2023. First off, I want to wish you all a happy start of a new season, and I want to thank you for the marks you've all made on League, from the hype plays to the big brain moments, and all the ways you've helped make League what it is today. We have a lot to share with you, including our final updates on Ahri and Aurelion Sol, some upcoming skin thematics, an update on Ranked, and a sneak peek at some champions we'll be releasing later this year. But before we get into what's coming, I want to share a quick recap of this year's preseason. So let's go.
Pero no quiero ver el resumen.
The Chemtech Drake has had a major glow
Sí, sí me gustó el volver.
In her new and improved form, instead of resurrecting friends and foes, she now mutates all the plants on the map with Chemtech empowerments. They still do what you're used to, only now with a twist. And each time you defeat the Chemtech Drake, she'll grant stacking tenacity, plus healing and shielding power. If you claim the soul, you'll deal increased damage and receive damage resistance when at low.
Sí, 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 el símbolo ahí de cuélguense. Automatación, por favor. Sí. Ajá. Sí, la vara. No muy bien la vara. El Aran me gustó mucho. Todo lo debería existir Aran y Nacho. Eliminaría la Greta.
Now that we've covered preseason changes, let's talk about some of the new things coming this season.
Ya, sí. Ya, la Ari.
After a year of waiting, we're finally releasing
sí, señor Río. ¿Y qué lo motivó para actualizar Ari? El dinero. No sé. Habían campeones. Se le urgía más esta cosa. El Cillian. El Gragas. Puro Sigma.
We can't wait to see what you think of it. She'll grant stacking tenacity in 2023. I'll hand it over to Riot Oberon, who will share our plans in 2023. I'll hand it over to Riot Oberon, who will share our plans for Ranked.
Hey everyone, I'm Chris Roberts, also known as Riot Oberon, the project lead for the Game Loop team. We work on things like champ select, matchmaking, and the various queue types from ranked to normals. That means we're not just focused on ladder grinders, we're also here for players who just want to have a good time with friends. Last year, we shared a blog update with some of our upcoming plans, including anonymized champion select, pick order swapping, and the loadout recommender. Since then, we've also been working on a few other projects, and there's one big thing I want to talk to you about today, the mid-year rank reset.
Va a ser igual que el Will Rift, o sea,
ranked splits have been in the game for a few years, but until now,
por,
they were just a way to
año.
separate the single ranked season into thirds to help folks pace their progress. Starting this year, the 2 ranked splits will have a full ranked reset in between with rewards to match.
Una por cada parche, así.
Here's the thing. A lot of players come back to League at the start of the season, ready for their climb to their ranked goals. But when we look at the data, it doesn't actually take the whole season for players to hit their peak rank if they've been playing consistently every patch. If you don't take your foot off the gas once you start your climb in January, you'll probably reach the peak of your climb around halfway through the year.
Yo juego como, ni siquiera las 10, juego como 8 horas cuando empieza, y juego como otra 8 cuando está por terminar en noviembre, y ahí quedo en bronce. ¿Y ya para qué? Porque ella anuncian que esquina y digo, realmente quiero estresarme por esa...
There are honestly a lot of reasons why most other games,
no lo va.
other Riot games included, don't have year-long ranked seasons. So this year, we're getting with the times. When Split 2 starts, it won't be as heavy a reset as the one in January. We're not introducing a second preseason, so the game won't change dramatically enough to warrant making you re-earn your rank to the same extent.
Pero quizás skin por año va a hacer quizás los pesos, ¿no?
Don't worry. The mid-year reset is even less significant if you haven't played many games since January.
Skin. El propósito de este juego, como digamos...
one we think will help keep League feeling modern and fun.
Sí, pues lo único
while
propósito
addressing
que
a
tenía
few of
este
the pain
juego.
points we've seen over the years.
Si no era un jugador competitivo, era sacar esa skin. De ahí subir más ya es
talking about the
gente
shiny
enferma.
stuff. Rewards. Each split, you can earn the full rank reward suite. Icons and emotes, ranked borders, and a ranked skin. Yes, that means there will be 2 skins for rank this year. We're also adding in some extra rewards for your climb as you progress on your ranked journey.
Sí, eso está bueno. Me gusta que me den emote y cositas por avanzar.
Now, every ranked player will have the chance to earn the skin moving forward, with chromas to match your final rank. The skin will continue to reflect your final ranked achievement, but we want you to also be able to earn it through dedication to climbing. That said, if you're below gold, it won't be as easy as play 10 placements for a free skin. The number of
Yo digo que
games
esto es súper
required to earn the
injusto.
skin is
Yo como
drastically
alguien que
higher
está
below
en
gold.
lo más bajo
So
de
just
los
because you
celos,
now
hay
can
que es
earn it
súper
as silver or
injusto
below doesn't mean you will.
que le
That wraps
den
things up for me.
skin a todo el
Up
mundo.
next is Riot Lexical, who's
Porque
going
esto
to
va a
talk to you
fomentar a
about
los
plans
bots,
for
van a
champions
después
this year.
cuentas que automáticas,
and
por
good
eso
luck on
que
your
solo
climb.
se suicidan y digamos por jugar 8000 partidas les van a dar skin. Me parece injusto.
Hi everyone.
Yo no debería ganar
Riot
skin.
Lexical Gal, the product
No quiero esa
league
wea skin.
champions here. I'm going to talk a bit about some of
Sí,
the new
nuevos
champions we
campeones,
have planned
esta
for
wea.
this year. But before that, I want to touch on our plans for the year overall. This season, we're focusing a bit more on smaller updates to the parts of the champion roster that has been left in the dust. We want to continue improving older champions' gameplay fantasies, so we'll be doing more mid-scope updates throughout 2023.
Ya.
And beyond gameplay changes, we'll also be polishing up some of the roster with much-needed VO updates for a few of our older champions like
Ay, Varus,
Italy and
para tener
Varus,
clases.
both of whom cross
Ojalá
paths
le
with
pongan
some
las
of
voces
our
así como
upcoming
eco
champions.
de la otra parejita, Harmonica. Que se tiren besitos
First
cuando
up this
matan
year
al
is Aurelion Soul's
y que Varus
CGU. In
responda
the
con
last
algo.
LOL
No sé.
Please, we showed you some of the updated abilities
Y
that
hablando
fans the
de
flame of his dragon fantasy.
fobias,
But we didn't
Aurelion,
go
yo vi
too
la
deep
imagen
into the
anterior de
parts of his
Aurelion y
kit
salía
that
puro
strengthen
matando al
his star
cazante.
forging theme.
Ah, lo cambiaron por Panther.
Not only can Aurelion Soul forge stars like a nebula in deep space,
Ah, es genial.
but he
Esa
can
de
now
la...
drop them
Es como
from
la
the
carta.
sky
Esta,
onto
ay, no me
his
acuerdo cómo se llama la
foes
carta del
in
Lord.
Summoner's Rift.
Que tiene.
Ouch. As we mentioned before in the last video, his new passive causes all of his abilities to grow in size over the course of the game, including his new ultimate.
Y
I mean,
reemplazaron,
what's more satisfying than dropping a
reemplazaron al
massive star
cazante.
you forge in
Lo habrían
outer
funado.
space on someone's head? We can't wait to see what you all think of the new and improved Star Forger,
forjador
and we
estrella.
hope a lot of you will find a new main with him.
Ah, mi nuevo
After
soporte.
Aurelion Soul, we'll be releasing some brand new champions. One of our goals for the past few years has been to make sure we have a champion for everyone to enjoy. So we try to have a diverse champion pool that's inclusive of all cultures, genders, and in-game skill levels for
Yeah.
every role. And that brings us to our first new champion of the year.
Milio. Ya. Milio.
I'm super excited for all of you to
Así
meet
que
our
aquí ya
male
no es
enchanter
el único
Mishtal,
campeón que vive en
displaying an
Ixtal.
incredible
Wow.
understanding of the fire axiom at a young age.
Increíble.
Milio
Increíble.
uses fire not to raise cities, but to soothe wounds.
Ah, interesante.
Now, he
Supongo que va a
travels
tirar
to
poder y
Ishtar,
si le pega a un
carrying
aliado,
the
lo cura. Si le
hopes
pega a un
and
enemigo,
dreams
lo
of his family on his
lo cura
back,
más.
along with his trusty backpack. He's about to
Hay
face
una
the
mochila.
biggest challenge of his young life, the Vidalian. His journey to
Vidalian.
Ishalcan will broaden his horizons
Ishalcan,
and introduce him to new people and places,
Sí, sería bueno
but it'll
salir
also
un
bring
poco de
him
él.
closer to Yuntao's darkest secrets. But no matter what challenges come, he'll
Salir un
always
poco del,
bounce back into action
del
and be
payaso
ready for
real.
his next
Lo único
adventure.
que sabía como de ahí era que villana y su hermana la saqueada.
After we're done with the adorable enchanter, we're moving on to something a bit edgier.
Yeah.
I know some of you love complex champions
Yeah.
and novel link skill descriptions. But others wants to focus on macro play and pounce into action with a
Yeah.
straightforward kit.
¿Esto qué
If
cosa es?
that sounds like you, good news. Nefiri is a Darkin for you. She's a mid-lane assassin made for those of us who want to focus on the hunt.
Entonces,
After
eran
awakening from her
ciertos
slumber, her
los rumores
first
de que era una
objective is
perra
to
con un
track down her
cuchillo
Darkin
en la
brother.
cabeza.
Her newfound body, or bodies, seems like
Ay,
a
va a
cruel
poder
twist of
invocar
fate
así
at
varios.
first, but they
Nada.
prove useful for locating her fellow Darkin.
Pero es que en Lord salieron
And
muchos
as a
Dark y
source of
muchos
wisdom.
geniales.
After all,
como
it's always
Horaci,
better to
que era
hide in a pack.
un imán,
I have some bad
o el
news,
otro
though.
que era un pollo,
Unfortunately, Neferi is the only champion this
y la
year
tortuga.
without a shirt. We know how much you all
Plan
love
de
abs,
exponente.
so don't worry.
¿Realmente un
We'll be
perro
looking for
estará a
more
la altura?
opportunities next year.
Escáner, que era un escáner, señor.
It's been a while since we spoke about everyone's favorite crystal
El
scorpion.
escorpión, que
The
parece
starter
que...
VGU team has started exploring ways to dial up his scorpion fantasy. At this phase, we're leaving no arthropod hiding stone unturned to find exciting themes,
Ese me gusta
and
más.
stories.
Este
We'll be releasing a dev blog later this year with more information on his
yo lo habré hecho más humanoide,
Looking
como el rey
further out,
escorpión.
we
¿no?
also have a
Wow,
hangry jungler
mira,
and an
eso es not
artistic mid laner who are
funny.
looming in the distance.
Okay.
They're a bit too early to talk about at the moment, but look
Muy
out for
bonito
future
todo.
teasers.
Sí.
That's all for me today. I'll hand it back to Riot Brightmoon for some final thoughts.
That pretty much wraps up things for today.
¿Sí?
But I
¿Podemos?
do have one small update I want to share before we go.
¿Qué me va a compartir?
For years, you've been asking us for the ability to play League in any language, no matter where you are. I'm happy to share that later this year, you'll be able to
Ay, lo voy a
select your
poder
language
cambiar
in
eso
League
sin tener
settings.
que ser
We hope this makes your experience a little bit more enjoyable, no matter where you're
todo
playing
y
from
volverlo
or
para
what language
otro
you
lado
speak.
para que me tome el idioma.
I also want to remind everyone who has
Por
Xbox
fin voy a
Game
poder jugar
Pass,
LOL en
link it to
Mapudungun.
your Riot account. This way, you can unlock every champion for free and get a 20% experience boost for as long as it's active. We have a lot more in store for this year, and we cannot wait to share more later.
Bien.
Thank you so much for watching. Best of luck on your climb, and I'll see you on the Rift.
Hey everyone, I'm Matthew Froxon-Lowe.
Yeah.
I'm the design lead of the Summoners Rift team.
Okay.
And I'm Patrick Petrie-Noonan. I'm the product lead of the Summoners Rift team. And the Summoners Rift team, we own game health and game balance and all of the major game system updates in League of Legends. So this will be things like the champion durability update and preseason that we do each year.
Cierto.
And today we wanted to talk to you a bit about just some of our thoughts on
Ya.
hopefully take my Singe back into the jungle. We'll see how that works out. But anyway, yeah, it's been a pleasure talking about just our thoughts on the state of the game. And we just want to put it out there. Best of luck on the start of the next season and happy climbing. Yeah.
Sí. Mira, les tiro aquí un dato. Bueno, mi humilde opinión, mejor dicho. Quizás un poco extremista, pero a mi consideración, todos los campeones que no usan mana están mal hechos. ¿Por qué? Tú no podís plantear que hay un recurso en el juego con el que tú disponís para tirar habilidades y que no tengan toda esta regla. Por último, ponele que, no sé, y una pasiva que hace que se regenere más, o ni siquiera una pasiva, puede ser un dato, un número nomás. Tú ponís, ya se regenera más mana más, pero no podís simplemente quitárselo. O sea, no, es que los que usan maná a lo largo son más fuertes. No es cierto. Tú me vas a decir que una Q de Yorick es mejor que la Q de esta cosa de Viego. No es cierto. No. No, que la cosa así, no. O sea, hay campeones, no sé, pues como Cera y Yumi, obviamente que lanzan más poderes y toda la cosa. Pero gastan mucho maná, pero lo recuperan. Pero para hacerlo tienen que hacer algo, no simplemente esperar. Y no es que tiene no es que tengan más cooldown. No tiene nada que ver una cosa con otra. Así que eso. Los campeones sim que no usan mana están mal hechos y deberían ser todos exterminados. Eliminados de la faz de la grieta del invocador. Y de Runaterra. El colmo, esa cocina de Yasuo. Ni siquiera usa energía. Gana un escudo por caminar. Ok, aquí vamos, esto es comportamiento de jugadores.
Hi, I'm Westhart, Head of Player Dynamics here at Riot.
Hi, I'm Hannah. I'm the head of the Behavioral Systems team on League of Legends.
What better way to start off a new year than to talk about player behavior?
This topic is never easy to talk about. Unfortunately, we've seen over the last several years that there's been really negative trends in how our players are feeling about player behavior. There's definitely a lot more work to do, and I We'll say that again.
Ya. Pero ¿por qué?
Because we have your team. It's doing amazing work. We have central player dynamics working on the game agnostic systems, and there's a good partnership there. There's social and player dynamics over on Valorant. So we've got all these folks that are working together and thinking in this space. What has your team been working on? What has made maybe the biggest impact as far as we can tell so far?
One of the big things that we released is an auto mute feature, which automatically mutes players using inappropriate language in game when it happens. And so that message will not be sent in, and players will be notified that those players have been muted. And we saw really, really positive player feedback from that, which was super exciting.
Sí, eso es genial cuando alguien en vivo lo silencian. Es muy satisfactorio.
Partnered with your team who own a really robust verbal abuse detection software. And that has just leveled up our ability to make these places safer.
One thing that we knew from research was that the quicker you take, action on a behavior, like a problem behavior, the more effective it's going to be.
Yeah.
This is more visible, but there were other things that maybe just kind of flew under the radar that didn't get noticed because it wasn't so visible?
Yeah, so one of the things that we've seen our players talk about a lot is intentional feeding. And that is one of the most frustrating behaviors that we see in game.
Well, one of the challenges with intentional feeding is the whole intentional part.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, how do you detect intent? And we know from all kinds of social science that in lieu of knowing someone's intent, we assume it. And so, that's tough. That isn't to say, by the way, the players are wrong.
Yeah.
Right? They may be seeing it, but if we're going to automatically detect it, we have to have a certain level of confidence that it's actually happening.
Pero
over the last year, making our intentional feeding detection a lot more robust.
Eso igual debe ser difícil. Porque no sé si alguna vez a alguien le ha campeado el Rengar, no sé. Y como que se salve de esa cosa. Rengar, no sé, llegando a nivel 5 ya no te deja volver a línea. O que todo el equipo enemigo se ponga simplemente a matar a un solo jugador.
I suppose it inspires a thought then. So, of course, behavior doesn't happen in isolation. But it's important to recognize that because we might be addressing the wrong problem, right? We might be seeing a symptom. For instance, like intentional feeding, no excuses, right? But sometimes it might just be an outcome of other things that have happened.
Absolutely.
Right? We've seen that with it can happen if you don't get to play the role that you want or even have.
Pero sí, la gente como que luego intenta como vengarse de alguna forma, ¿no? Y a veces ni siquiera por la misma partida, ¿no? En la partida anterior me trolearon, así que esta la voy a trolear.
95% of our players are only occasionally disruptive. They contribute to over 80% of the reports in our games. Which means the vast majority of disruptive behaviors are done by all of us, you and me. We get tilted in games.
Indeed we do.
And we exhibit these behaviors too. So we found that it's not just about that one approach of punishing all those really disruptive players. It's about that holistic approach where we can identify, yes, there are some players who we do want to remove out of our ecosystem, but the large majority are actually really positive, and we want to be able to build features where we can celebrate that.
Quite often when we talk about like the player dynamics, we're describing it as we want to make it safe to be social and more rewarding online for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
No necesariamente.
One of the great things that we've done over the last year to target that population is really building on our honor system. So we increased the rewards significantly with
Sí, es muy bueno. Es aquí.
Phenomenal. I hope you all have
Creo que
no bias whatsoever.
No bias.
Es un poco tarde.
On a recall VFX as well.
Pero está bien.
Can really showcase
el vaqueo donador también, muy bonito.
Even if they don't necessarily play with that champion, play with that skin.
We make games. We're not trying to police this space. We want these to be great game experiences. So we're figuring out what our role is. Like when I look back on League, it's not what like we made that I remember. It's those great esports moments, right? Or it's the teams that we made and the audiences. They got so excited about this. That's we can really come together and do something. Those kinds of moments, just cosplayers. Like
Yeah.
creativity, how they bring the world that we put into our games to life. It's incredible. And so when we think about community's involvement, like, yes, we know we're going to need to deal with the negative stuff. Reducing bad does not create more good, any more than reducing sodium.
Eso quise pensar, pero uno piensa en LOL. ¿En qué piensa?
So we got to do both.
Cosas
Because
tóxicas.
otherwise, kind of aiming for
Gente
unity.
hedionda.
And that's not why any of us come to games. I mean, anybody who's played League to
Grasa abdominal.
knows that there's a high mastery curve, right? And you're never done.
Fracaso.
But it's that possibility, right, that brings us to this. I mean, we see that in our games. It's what we all share
Racismo.
in this culture. It's like, yeah, we come for the possibility.
We've redefined what it means to be a sport, even. I don't see why we can't redefine what it means to be an online community.
What are your thoughts about what's next?
So we're so excited for 2023. There's so many learnings
Yeah.
that we can pull
Yeah.
from. Things like the feedback loop with our players. So players really seeing in that moment, what was the behavior that caused the disruption, and taking action on that immediately or as soon as possible, so players understand define what the behavioral expectations are in game. Having ways for our players to contribute to those expectations and really appreciating them for when they do so. Because as you said, it's a co-created community, it's a co-created space. We want our players to be able to contribute as much as possible to making it a community that we're all really proud to be a part of. My dream is to have League be a place where people aren't only coming
No
for the
solo.
pinnacle of competition, where they're also coming
O sea, yo
for the
juego por la comunidad. A mí me encanta la comunidad de League of Legends.
we are all wanting
Yo
to
soy la persona menos
contribute to this
competitiva que hay.
community, and we're proud
No me
to.
interesa
And we're also proud to
ni mejorar,
friends
ni
and
escalar, ni nada.
everyone we love
Yo
to
solo
be
juego
in the community.
para divertir.
Can't think of a
Juego el
better
campeón
thing
que quiero,
to start off a
como
new
los
year
quiero.
than possibility.
Ganar o perder es secundario.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate you listening.
We can't wait to continue this conversation with you all. Stay honorable out there.
Pero eso soy yo. Mucha gente juega al contrario, por intentar, ¿cómo se llama?, quitarse de alguna forma, controlar. La gracia del LOL es que tú sabes que los demás jugadores son personas y tú de alguna forma les causas daño, y eso es lo tan confortante para uno como humano y tan adictivo. Es la sensación de poder humillar y sodomizar al otro. Al menos si yo lo veo. Algunos más, otras menor medida, pero esa es la gracia. Saber que las otras son personas y tú les causas dolor. Dolor imaginario, psicológico. Pero de eso va. Al menos para mí. Este es el tercero. Este es actualización de extensiones media. Esto, efectos visuales, supongo, ¿no? Ya. Yumi AD, al fin. Mi Yumi top letalidad. Al fin es canon. Nah. Muy bien.
I've done a few midscopes in the past, like Syndra, Swain, and a long time ago Rammus, and I'm here with my friends.
I'm Ezra. I'm also a designer on the Summer's Rift team. I do item balance systems, that kind of thing. Previously, I worked on Rengar as a and I'm currently working on Nico.
Nico?
I'm the
Nico.
designer, and midscopes I've worked on is most recently Jax, and then before that Talia.
Yeah.
And the first question we have to answer, which I'm sure is on a lot of players' minds, is what is a midscope, and what sets it apart from balance work, DGUs, CGUs,
CG, yeah.
whatever, letters, all that stuff.
Probably the best way to say it, like in a big summary, is VGU, Visual Gameplay Update, is kind of like a new champion. A midscope is like refreshing a champion. So with the VGU, like say what we did with Pantheon or Aurelia, you got a very
muy bonitos.
you got new animations, new sounds, new BO, new kit, that's important. Whereas a midscope is a lot more about refreshing a current character for its current players.
in its essence, it's taking the fantasy of a character. We're not making a new character in fantasy and making it a 12 out of 10. Like, how far can we push this so that players feel like, oh, for Swain, I'm this huge
Ay,
but
genial
I'm in the
Swain.
middle of their team. Or for Talia, that I'm actually an Earthweaver and I'm not punished by using my Q.
And then the second part about mid-scope
Tiene
that's
sentido para mí.
important here is that because they're on lower scope in terms of work, they're on shorter timelines. Some only take like 1 or 2 months, and which means we can get them out a lot faster.
So how do we go about finding a good target for a mid-scope, right? Because there's a lot of different projects we do. What defines how we find a target for VGU versus random patchwork that we actually do on a 2-week basis?
When a character feels like they maybe have lost their place in the game, or they feel a bit stale, they feel like they might not have as much of a purpose as they used to, a designer can look at a mid-scope and say, hey, is there some way to like really refresh who this character is in the game and what their place is in the entire league roster? In the past, we've done mid-scope-like projects. A lot of them are really good. We've done Xin Zhao, Tom Kench, Sona,
¿qué le hicieron a Sona?
projects like this. But a lot of times when we
Ah, le cambiaron la voz, es cierto.
work, it's framed in terms of
Le hicieron las frases.
back in the day when we did the original work on Talia, that
Ya no dice Dacio de Invocador, ¿o sí?
problem,
No me
we
fijo.
need to fix her for mid lane. And we succeeded in that, but it was like kind of at a
Le agregamos más
cost
frases.
to Talia players, as opposed to possibly a benefit. And so a lot of mid scopes are framed in terms of not problems, but opportunities. It's about asking the question, hey, I see this character,
Talari,
I see someone
bonita
that
Lari.
is even cooler, even
Pero ya estaba
we
bien.
can fix some problems along the way, but it's about finding what's exciting about the character that we can really
Yeah.
play up and
Pues,
enhance.
como-
So you worked on Nico, you worked on Syndra. How do you
Nico.
select mid-scopes? Like, is there a method to how we're choosing these projects?
6 meses dicen que están
See it
con
is, for the most part, it's strong.
¿Qué le van a hacer a la Nico?
Someone who's like
¿Qué le harás a Nico?
with the character, deeply interested in the character's success. They understand the character. You know, some of these characters have been live for years and years and years. So you've played them a lot. You truly understand the failings and the opportunities. I play Nico. I used to play him, actually, and I was just like, at the end of the
Yo
day,
también.
this character isn't.
Sí, los pagan mucho.
I want to have fun, and she's not letting me. Right?
Sí,
I
es
want
cierto.
all these things, and I want to trick people. I want to catch people. And
Ajá.
I can't. Right? And she's still
Sí,
fun,
ahí va
she's
Nico.
fine, but she could be so much more.
That type of message is what we want to have
Sí.
for mid-scopes, which is...
Y que deberían darle el escudo antes de que explotara. ¿Para qué se lo veía después si está en CCA? No entiendo eso.
It's really about finding a fantasy and seeing if we can enhance that for the...
Serviría también de que no te quitaran la pasiva si
And
te
sometimes,
pegan.
like, a mid-scope can
Te
come
estira y
from,
ulti.
you know, just years of players telling us something. There's a lot of Swain players who, for a few years,
That
after
one
the
Swain.
were like, hey, I want to play this guy mid, and I feel like I can't play him mid. And he was powerful.
Igual no me gusta jugar medio.
Great, but that didn't mean he felt powerful or that he was super fun there. And we would constantly have Swain players telling us, it's like, hey, yeah, I can play this guy support. He's a cool support, but what about mid lane? I want that mid Swain back. And that was actually, I think, one of the inspirations for the work that ended up being done with Swain.
Era mejor cuando era
Important to know
jugable
that
en
it's
top.
not other players who might like Swain. It's Swain players who feel like their character isn't working for them. The goal of mid-scopes isn't make a character more popular. Like, everyone will play this character. It's the players who love this character actually feel like the character is working for them.
I think there's probably a question of like, you've done Silas, you've done Tom Kench, you've done Sona, Xin Zhao.
Yeah.
Why are you calling these things mid-scopes now? Like, what's the point of that? By saying, hey, we're doing this projects, they're called mid-scopes. This is the amount of resources they need. We can plan for them ahead of time so that when a designer, like say Tim, is like, hey, I want to do a Syndra change, but it's going to need a new queue. Instead of us saying,
Syndra.
we can't do that, we don't have any resources to make a new queue, we can say, okay, we can plan for that. We'll
Yeah.
plug that in, and then we'll get it
Es
out to
cierto.
players in 2 months.
Now that we've covered
Qué
about what
puta la
mid-scopes
cochina.
are and how we pick them out and what we want to do, what can players expect in 2023 for mid-scopes?
This isn't set in stone right now, but it's something we'd like to work up to. Is long term, if we could be shipping a mid-scope, say once every...
Deberían ponerlo como el lore, porque la de campeones en lore que están demasiado guapos y aquí repugnante.
Set better expectations for like maybe your character could get one. I think one thing that can be rough as a League of Legends player is if you think your character needs an update, it might be years before they actually get it. But with mid-scopes, they succeed similar to a VGU in like revitalizing the champion without necessarily taking all that extra time, which means we can do more of them.
So talking about expectations before we end, Do you want to give us a sneak peek on what Nico's midscope is going to be about?
Leak Nico, where is
Nico, Nico. A ver, dime de Nico.
I can give
¿Dónde está el Nico?
things going
Nico,
on.
Nico, Nico.
But I can give the one sneak peek, which is her passive, instead of just turning to other champions, is
No.
now other things.
Ya.
She can turn
No.
into a plant,
Esto salió en un clip. Yo lo vi hace meses en
a monster.
esta cosa de Instagram, pero literalmente un niño.
No. She'll
No.
actually be a worse teammate.
That's a core gameplay mechanic in League. All right.
Wow.
Nico that turned into wards, literally coming to a rift.
¿En serio? ¿Un centinela? ¿Una torre? ¿O como el bug? No, no. No.